Hello and welcome to this quick 15-minute tutorial. This is a real-time tutorial, so everything that you see is happening live as I speak. Today we're gonna draw a fantasy weapon. Without further ado, let's get into it. A tool that I use to go really quick with these designs is the symmetry tool, since weapons are, especially swords, are usually symmetrical. So the cool thing about this symmetry tool is that if you draw on one side, it gets copied on the other side. So let's quickly sort of get our baseline in. I usually don't spend too much time on this. Just get the hilt, the guard, and the blade going. We can do this in really easy steps if you want to. So with shift pressed while we do the brush work, we get a straight line for the guard, and then somewhere about here you can make it a little bit thinner if you want, but for now let's go with this thick blade. Yeah, that's probably good for now, and we can add some extra details if you want. Let's quickly fill this in with a brush. You could also use the paint bucket tool, but as you can see, there is still some sort of artifacts that we want to fill in. That's important for later. So we use the symmetry tool to get the quick sketch, and from there now we have a basic sword shape. So the first shape is done. You have to think a little bit about the size of the hilt. Would a hand fit? Maybe you can make it a little bit bigger or smaller. It depends on the type of sword. If it's a one-handed sword, it's of course a little bit smaller than when it's a two-handed sword. Stuff like that. That's things that I go over in my head. The design language of the sword, who is using it and for what. Is it a one-hander? Is it a two-hander? And this is of course all fantasy. So and it is based on real design, but it is based on real design. That's about it. You can go as crazy as you want, and you can see that as well in a lot of movies, and especially in games. Weapons look cool but are not always practical, so don't be afraid to go in and do some extreme things that add to the coolness factor of the sword or the weapon that you're designing. And for me, it helps to make up a story in my head: who is using the sword and what is the purpose. Is it for showing off? Is it really practical? Things like that. So we have the basic shape in, and now we want to continue with a little bit of texture, design, stuff like that. To do that, we're gonna add a new layer, and we're gonna set the new layer to a clipping mask. That means that if we paint on this layer, I can show you the paint. Oh, I probably should pick a different color. Let's pick this ugly yellow. As you can see, the paint is only done on the sword. I am planning on keeping this under 20 minutes, the total length of the video. So hopefully we can actually get that under 20 minutes. I usually do these in about 10 to 15 minutes, and yes, they're quite rough, but if you want to make a bunch of these for a client, for instance, then it's really nice that you can make them really fast. But with this, I'm probably gonna take a little bit longer, because I need to talk about the stuff that I do, and in the meantime think about the design of the sword, stuff like that, and that can be quite challenging. Let's make this a sort of a rusty old blade. I kind of like So yeah, depending on how this recording goes, you either get this one, or or maybe I will say, you know what, let's redo the audio. I'm not sure yet. The problem is I don't want to speed up anything. I want you to see that it is actually, you can actually do it this fast. But by showing that in real time, I'm actually also slowing myself down. So it's sort of a little bit of a challenge there. But we'll see what we can do. Anyway, that is sort of the blade sort of done, roughly. We can do some touching up later if you want to. Let's do a sort of brown leathery handle or hilt. Or this is really annoying. It when I select that brush, it says that it has a certain size, but it doesn't. I don't know how to. The size that it displays doesn't. It's a little bug. Doesn't translate with the actual size of the brush. So that's rather unfortunate. Let's do a little bit design on the hilt section and the guard. And you can make this as complex as you want, with complex engravings and inscriptions, or you can keep it simple, whatever the design asks, so to say. We're gonna keep this one fairly simple, and you can add complexity as you go. And as you can see, it's really nice that I have that clipping mask, because I can put down some broad brush strokes without destroying sort of the overall shape. So yeah, that's really nice. Let's get this going. Sort of a simple design there. And usually at this stage I'm like, yeah, the overall design is there, and I'm gonna turn the symmetry off because we want to add some light to the blade, and I want the light to come from the left side. I do that for all the designs that I do. So it just adds a little bit of extra detail to the design. So let's pretend that there is a sort of a bevel going on there, maybe on the edge as well. As you can see, that works quite well. Bevel is the right term, right? I need to make sure that I don't get distracted. I like to ramble a lot. If you follow me for a little while now, you know that I can ramble a lot. I didn't make a script. I got some points. I hope that I talked about everything that I wanted to. Yes, I talked about the design language that you want to follow. Sometimes stuff that helps is to think, who is going to use this sword? Is it an elf? Is it an orc? Is it just a human? Stuff like that helps to figure out, is it well maintained? Is it a poor man's sword? Is it a noble sword? Stuff like that. Just if you have that little story in your head, you can use that to figure out how the design should be. So this is just a decently basic sword, not really that much ornaments. A little bit of ornaments on the hilt, but not too much, because you want to make it a little bit cool, right? Especially in games, even if it's a fairly basic sword, you still want to look cool. Because that's mainly what it is all about, gaming, and movies as well. It's about feeling powerful, feeling cool, and especially games. You want to be the hero, right? You want to be the strong dude and the cool looking dude. Practicality is usually sort of second to that. That comes second. Cool looks is first. Because if you're really critical at the design in ooh, that's maybe a little bit too much. Let's set the opacity a little bit lower. I want some glow on the blade. If you really were to go critical on the practicality of the designs in especially video games, doesn't always make sense, but hey, it's all about looking cool, right? So yeah, that's what we're trying to achieve. So let's get some brighter highlights in. This is not a not very neat design. This is not a finished sort of. You can put it in as in a game as a 2D art for inventory, for inside your inventory, right? It's more about exploring the different designs, and you can take this a little bit further if you work on it for another 15 minutes to really clean up the everything. Then it's probably all right. You can make a bunch of these, especially if you start with just silhouetting all the different shapes, and then you can cannibalize different shapes and iterate on designs, and then it goes really fast. You can make a bunch of these in an hour. So there's just some reasonably simple steps that you can follow to come up with a cool design. Maybe we need to change this up a little bit. Can we go brighter? Yeah, don't be afraid to pop it a little bit. What you can also do is grab the dodge tool by pressing O, and then especially if you want a shine on the metal, that kind of works, or not kind of, that really works well for that. So yeah, and if you want to do some subtle changes to the design, we can do that. We can let's put on the symmetry. If you say we want this rounded down a little bit, we can do that. So let's change the design very subtle. Make the guard a little bit less wide, maybe. I think this is a little bit too much. So, and we do that by just erasing. This is the eraser. So we're using the eraser on the bottom layer, so the layer where we paint on is changed. And for some last finishing touches, I usually like to add some sort of scratches or dents in the sword. It's not really realistic. Swords don't get scratched. Yeah, they maybe get scratched, but not really these big dents in them, I think. I'm not an expert on swords, by the way, so I don't know. But usually that kind of looks cool. Adds a little bit more character to the sword, as you can see. So yeah, we can touch up this a little bit more, I feel. When not too, I'm not too happy with the guard and the hilt design, but what can you do? Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It's also because I want to keep the tutorial not too long. So if you have the basics down, you can take as long as you want. You don't need to do it in 10 minutes, but usually just painting is quicker. Anyway, that's it, I guess. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye.